Oh, it is muted. Damn it. We're gonna start over. Ready? I'm gonna go away for a minute. Start the intro again. Damn it. I thought Crypto KJ got me. All right. Anyways, let's start this over. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded. For anyone that might be new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news in the space. I update myself, bring you guys along for the ride, and happy Tuesday to everybody. Let's see who's here in the chat. Crypto KJ, appreciate you. I totally thought you were trolling me. I thought you were trolling me, you bastard. I am feeling better. Mr. Tim, I am crypto. Thank you very much for asking. Appreciate you. Duke Nukem, good morning, sir. We have Nerd Beast in the house. Vinny, good morning. Let's see. Andrew Masad, all set. Black Hat team, good morning, sir. Good to see you. Chris Hanley, Dumpster Fire, my man. Lawnmower Man. Let's see. Son of a Rabbit, good to see you, buddy. Perfect. Dom G, let's see. DHJ, who else is here? Who else is here in the chat? You guys are awesome. Thanks for everybody telling me that I was muted. I so thought Crypto KJ was trolling me. All right, anyways, let's get into this market. Let's see what we're looking like. Bitcoin 66,069 bucks. Look at that. Or $61 now. We have Ethereum at 31.79. Not too bad. Solana's at 153 bucks. Looking pretty good. ADA 51 cents. Litecoin's at 84 bucks. Good buying opportunity, not financial advice. Caspa is at 12.5 cents, just about 12.6. We have ETC at $27. I think this is going to do very well in the bull run as well. Let's see what else we got. Near Protocol is up 5.19% today to $7.18. Dogecoin is just under 16 cents at 15.8. Ton looks like that's down a bit, 7.93% to $5.68. Yes, please hit the like button. Appreciate you all. Thank you, Mr. Andrew Masad. BNB is $604 as of right now. What's BCH looking like? 505 bucks. Man, I'm wondering if this is going to get back up to the I don't think it's ever going to see its all-time high again. This is my opinion. It was like $4,000 or something, but it was like $700 before the Bitcoin halving, and now it's down to 500. So kind of crazy. Anyways, market looks pretty good. Looks really good actually just after the halving. All right. Oh my God, crypto bubbles. Look at this. What in the hell? AKT. This is the Akash network, or Akash network, however you're supposed to say that. $6.11. It's pushed 30 ranks. Wow. Damn. That's crazy. It's up 51.2% on the day. Is anybody into this? Anybody have this? I only troll, I don't lie. Crypto KJ. Good point. Bitcoin trash. Yeah, pretty much. No, I don't know. I mean, listen, everybody's into their own thing. I'm not into BCH personally, but I just think the all-time high is going to be very, very hard to get to. Looking over here, Cast was up 5%. We have BitTensor, however you're supposed to say it, $515, up 6.7%. We have STX Stacks up to $2.99, 5% on the day. Genosis is up to 396 bucks, up 6.5% on the day. Pendle is up 4.6%. This is $6.61. Let's see. Conflux is down 2.4% to 24 cents. Man, I can't speak this morning. Killing me. All right, Ton. Let's see. Ton coin again down 7.1% to $5.62. That's a, I don't know. I'm not. How many of you guys in the chat actually hold Ton? Let me know. BitTensor. Thank you, Vinny. Is that how you're supposed to say it? BitTensor? I don't know. It looks like BitTensor to me. All right, let's see. Flashbang. We're gonna go to Fear and Greed Index 71. We're in the greed as of right now, which is normal, right? We've been in greed for a while at this point. It's 71. Under 75 is a good thing for me. I still think we have a lot more upwards pressure to come. This is again overall consensus of the entire market, like YouTube, news, everything online is pretty much bundled up into this little beauty right here, and it tells you where we're at, right? Overall, I think under 75 is good. Over 75, start worrying about it. But once we get into like 80s and 90s, that's when I really am like, all right, things are gonna have a pullback at some point. But again, it's not a science or an exact science. It's just more or less be fearful when people are greedy, and greedy when people are fearful. All right, trending coins over here. Looking at Gala, Virtual Protocol, and Tectum. That's how you say that. Everything is down a little bit today, but Those are the trending. All right, top 10 coins by coin market cap over on CoinGecko. We have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, USDC, XRP, Lido Staked Ether, Dogecoin, and Toncoin still hold in 10th place, even though it's down quite a bit. I mean, look at that. Cardano's actually creeping up on it about $1.5 billion or so, a little less than that away from flipping back into 10th spot. I think Cardano deserves to get back in 10th. I don't know. Toncoin, I'm kind of surprised it's in 10th, to be honest. Charles Harris says he loves Timmy's. All right, let's see. We have 15th place for Bitcoin Cash. All right, this is what I was telling you guys. I don't think it's ever going to get back. Oh, it's only $3,785, not 4,000, but it's down 86% over 6 years. If it didn't pass it in 2021, I have no hopes it's going to pass it now. That's just my opinion, personally. I don't think Bitcoin Cash is going to come back to where it was. Like, look at this. It's like a dying. I don't know. I mean, I guess like this peak, and this peak, right? It would have broken out, I guess, or I don't know. I don't know if it's going to grow or not, but this is kind of one of them coins that I wouldn't bet my money on. That's just me personally, but you guys obviously do what you will. ADA, I think, is a good chance. I've said this 3 weeks in a row at this point. I think if you look at the max chart, again, 2017 bull run, we have the 2021 bull run, both peaks, right? I think 2024 is going to be greater for it. To be honest, it's down 83% over 2 years, right? This is a bit different because it did have a run up in 2021. So $3.09. I think it's probably an easy 6x at least. That's just my opinion, not financial advice. Let's see, scrolling down through this Ethereum Classic. I think just because of the Ethereum ETF, I think this one's going to get some sort of hype behind it. But again, 2017, 2021, I have an altcoin video. If you guys didn't see, I point out a couple coins that are down 83% or 80% or more that I think are going to do pretty well. So this is at $167, and I kind of hope this one pops because it will carry the miners through the next run, you know. Joker Miner, thank you so much, dude, for the $4.99 super chat. You're awesome. He said, getting ready to head my kids to school for the day. It's her birthday Thursday, so being a watchdog today. Nice. That's awesome, man. Well, happy early birthday. Happy early birthday. That's awesome, man. Kids are growing quick. You know what? I was actually thinking about that this morning. Sorry, I didn't mean to break it up into full screen, but like, my kid is 5 years old, so she's going to school this year, coming up. And I got to figure out the daily grind schedule. I don't know what time you got to get the kids on the bus or get them to the school. I have no idea. So things are going to be a little weird probably towards August, end of August, September. I'm going to have to figure that all out, but I'll obviously keep you guys posted. All right. Litecoin is in 22nd place. Again, I still think this is a good buy as well. Litecoin's not going to be like, I mean, who knows actually, but it didn't really go too much crazier. 2017 peaks here, you know, 2021 peaks actually should be like up here. So it did break its previous all-time high, but it is almost 80% down from 2021. $410 is all-time high. So I think that Litecoin is a very good buy right now, personally. You'll figure it out. Yeah, always for sure. I might just have to go a little earlier. I'm not sure what time. Like I said, the bus thing, I've never done that before, so we're gonna have to find out. Render's a good one. This is a newer coin, right? Just came out what, 20, oh, actually it was around for the last bull run. I didn't even know that. Look at that, 2021 it was out there at about $7.83. It did break its all-time high already. I think Render's going to do good things. Its all-time high is $13.53, down 32%. That's crazy. So this coin actually has decent utility, and if big companies start adopting it, I think it's going to have a decent run up. I did get some in the last pullback, around $7 or something. Let's see Caspa. I still think Caspa has never seen a bull run. It's going to do great things. We're going to see what happens. 19 cents just about is the all-time high. 33% down on the or from the all-time high rather. Again, 12.5 cents. You guys have a good chance here, to be honest, at least in my opinion. I think it's creating a giant, I guess, descending wedge, and that's typically bullish, right? So we're gonna have to see what happens there. I think it's trying to break out. If it goes over 13 cents, I think it's really the like breakout point. 13-14 cents. All right, anyways, let's move on to the mining segment of things. We got a bunch of news to watch today. All right, you guys know I like to timestamp this stuff, see what the most profitable miners on the market are today. Oh my god, oh god, look at this. I told you guys, I freaking told you this wasn't going to hold up. Yesterday, this was over $103. Anyways, we're gonna start from the top. KS5 Pro 21 terahash unit making 108 bucks a day. We got the KS5 20 terahash unit making $102 a day. The AL box in third place now. It was in first yesterday. 180 watts, $12,000 it's stating now. Actually, I think this is very wrong. I think I saw on Gold Shell it was like 7 grand. Nonetheless, it's still stupid expensive. $66 a day. That's a big oof. That's a big oof. What is the lithium looking like? Is the price down, or is it just like, okay, these miners are I mean, it's down, but hold on, what's today? 23rd, 22nd, $2.77. All right, so it's down like 20 cents. There's no way it would have dropped that. There's something else going on. There's got to be a bunch of shit on the network. That's crazy. That's crazy. I told you guys I would not waste your money on that. This is my opinion. All right, we got the Ice River KS5L 12 terahash unit, $57.88. We have the BMKS Max 11 terahash unit making $49.63 a day. Again, this is all at 10 cents kilowatt hour. The Windminer K9 10.3 terahash making $48.77. Let's see, the KS3 8 terahash unit, this is the original KS3, $36 a day, and the KS3M 6 terahash unit making $24 a day, $24.86 to be exact. I could see. Let me see. All right, let's see. Go to Google quick. Let's see. That's not it. All right, hold on. I'll do that in a minute. Actually, I'll do it in a minute. Let me finish this and then we'll get into that. All right, the Antminer L7 9050 version. This is what I got down at Terra Hosting, making 10 cents or mining at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. Shout out to them. $13.34 a day. Merge mining Litecoin and Doge. We have, let's see, my S19K. How's that doing today? S19K Pro, still most profitable mining Digibyte, $6.36 a day. Yeah, I'll check out the network hash rate in a second on lithium. Give me a site. What site should I go to find that? Do they have 2 miners? Are they on 2 miners? I don't know. I don't really mine lithium, to be honest. Digibyte looking like it is $3 more profitable, or $3.50 more profitable. Nice. Than Bitcoin. Crazy. I wonder why. Actually, you know what? I watched Mining King's video. He was talking about this yesterday, why you might not want to go to Digibyte over Bitcoin. And man, I could not listen to the whole thing. I forget what he was saying. He started talking about it and I freaking got distracted with my kids. But man, I don't know. These machines actually, to be honest, I think are still holding up fairly well. Regardless, Bitcoin or Digibyte, you're still making a decent amount. This is my opinion. KS1 is making $4.04 a day. This is the 1 terahash unit from Ice River. That's kind of good thing Mining King sold his. KS2 2 terahash units making $8.09 a day. Man, that's terrible. Where's the KS0 Pro? KS0 Pro is 86 cents a day. I gotta move these into my solar trailer. I was thinking about doing it today if I have time. Let's see. He said the hash rate might spike to people switching over. Oh, Alien Black, you're right. You're correct. You are correct. Thank you, Mr. Crypto KJ. So what was it at? Let me see. Hash rate. I mean, yeah, it had a jump, but it's not like, I mean, down. If you look back here in like January. Thank you. So this is the actual Lithium Explorer. Interesting. All right. So back in January, it was 351 terahashes. And now we're looking like we're double that. Just under double that. We're at 500 terahashes. So about 200 more, or 150 more actually. That's not like significant though from yesterday, right? Like, yes, I mean, it only shows the 22nd, right? So it doesn't even have today yet, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that? It doesn't seem like it like rose exponentially, right? Like I would assume like a bunch of these came online and it doesn't seem like that. I guess we'll have to wait till tomorrow. Oh wait, it says 716 here. Oh wait, what the hell? Oh shit. All right, so it did raise a lot. Look at this, 508. And it says, oh my god, that's gross. All right, I gotta pull up the chat so I can see what the hell you guys are saying. That's crazy. That's a lot. If that's legit, it rose 200 in a day. That's crazy. Yeah, they don't even have it like on a blown up scale, but this shit's gonna be like a freaking boner. right through the next like 3 levels. That's crazy. Yeah, that's exactly what I said was gonna happen though. It's gonna happen. The same thing that happened to the KS Zeros. These things were making like I think when they were first announced, it was like, I don't know, I remember when I got it, it was like 30 bucks a day, and I think it was like 100 bucks a day or something. It was like just around what the Elysium box was, and then obviously it just took a shit. Yeah, that's crazy. Wow, 50% increase on hero miners, really? Hero miners, let's see. Oh shit, yeah, it's at 608. So how do I know this is 24 is this 24 hours? Is that how this does this? It's 24 hours. Let me see. Yeah, yeah, so this is 24 hours. All right, so the difficulty went from 1.84 petahashes to 2.78. The pool hash rate went from, let's see, I guess yesterday 118 or so terahashes to 306. Oh my god. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that some people must have got these. And did you guys notice that Gold Shell said those things were all sold out too? These AL boxes, they were all sold out conveniently. So big guys must have got them. That's crazy. That's a 2x move. That's insane. That sucks. That sucks. See, like, this is going to be the do or die for Elysium. I want to know if it's going to be able to hold its price, or if people are going to mine the shit out of this and sell the coin down. It could be really bad. It could be really bad. I mean, but it could be good. So hey, who knows? I mean, really, it's crypto. We don't know anything. All right, moving on to GPUs. We have the RTX 4090 mining Nexa. Is Nexa having a pump today? Let's see. We're gonna get into the news in a second, guys. No, why is what? Nexa is down 7.8%. How is that most profitable over here on the GPUs? Let me just refresh this. I guess it's right. All right, 4090. You're making $2 a day on your 4090 with the with Nexa at 10 cents kilowatt hour. We have the 170HX mining Ironfish and Caspa Classic for the 4080 Super, and Ironfish and Pyron. Looks like the 4080 is also doing, or the original 4080, Nexa, Ironfish, and Caspa Classic. 3090 Ti is quite interesting, and it's kind of weird that you always see like Papao algorithms on the 3090 Ti, which I wouldn't expect at all. Excuse me. Let's see. Is the hash rate down? Fully electric. Oh, on Nexa? Probably. Damn it. Does Hero Miners have a pool for them? Oh, look at that. Brave browser. You see that? That was kind of cool. Do they have Nexa on here? Where can you mine Nexa? I don't even know. I guess we can go look, but I would assume the hash rate's down. I don't want to take too much time on that because I don't really care about Nexa, to be honest. 7900 XT BTG looks to be like the most profitable over here. Ironfish and Caspa Classic as well. Conflux and Radiant for the A5000. I don't know if anybody has that. What is this? What is AE? What is AE 3070? What's that? I'm not even gonna try to say that. I'm not even gonna try to say that. I don't even know what that is. What is this coin? Has anybody heard of this? Has anybody heard of this? AE? Oh, Eternity? Is that how it's supposed to say? Eternity? I don't know why I was looking at that weird, but AE, weird. I don't know. Don't even know what that is. Anyways, all right, let's move on. New coins. Let's see if there's any new coins here. I don't think that's a new coin, right? I've never heard of that. I just want to look real quick. Let me look quick. I don't think is this not a new coin? Is it like old? What the f is it? Never even heard of that. AE's been around for a couple years now. Really? I've never heard of it. Oh shit, damn it, I meant to click on freaking CoinGecko and I X'd it out. Anyways, I've never heard of this coin. Weird. All right, well, it's nice to see a new coin that I've never heard of. I'll have to look into it. Peppa Pow. We have a Peppa Pig coin now, apparently. 3 days old. Script. Wait till they get sued. Yeah, that's gonna be great. Mine these coins at your own risk, people, and don't go to these websites unless you have a VLAN computer. What in the bro. It's not just a meme coin. This is going to, I don't know, this is gonna be really bad. This is gonna be really good or really bad. There's no way this project has the okay from the kids show to do that. That is insane. Anyways, events calendar, let's see. Octaspace, guys, 7 hours going through a block reward reduction, 2.3 to 1.85. Yeah, I don't recommend getting into that because that could be a really, I don't know, that could be a lawsuit waiting to happen. That's crazy. Anyways, Keva coin in 18 days. Pyron is actually going through a halving or a block reward reduction, which is a fifthening more or less in 28 days. Ethereum Classic, same thing, fifthening in 37 days. I'm excited for this one. I want to see what happens here, but anyways, things go down the list from here. I don't really, I guess Flux going through it in 474 days, but it's like well beyond time we care about. All right, let's move on to the news of the day. Bitcoin after the halving. What's next for the cryptocurrency, guys? Hit that like button. Appreciate y'all for hanging out. Let's do it.
Bitcoin achieved its fourth halving on Friday, fourth ever. Checking on the price of Bitcoin. Now it is up. And joining us, Kathleen Brightman, Tezos blockchain co-founder. There's nobody that didn't know. Welcome. It's good to see you, Kathleen. But there's no one that didn't know that the halving was going to occur. So I'm a little bit surprised, although there had been a little bit of a pullback, but I'm a little bit surprised that you're seeing this much buying interest. One thing is for sure, though, if you are trying to buy Bitcoin for these new ETFs, you can't. It's harder to buy them now, right?
Real quick, I just want to show the Nexa hash rate. 2 miners has a pool. It really doesn't look like it went down, to be honest, Mr. Fully Electric. Just so you know.
Yeah, I suppose so. And I agree with you. It is kind of silly that this is a meme that's been very popular. Oh, the halving is going to make the price go up. But ultimately, it's a market that trades on memetics, and you have to do the memes, right?
Got to do that. But so I'm using your numbers here. So 900 new Bitcoins used to be created at, now there's 450. And how many do we need for ETFs in your view? Is there an estimate for the demand that is now being generated by everyone being involved, all the BlackRocks of the world?
Yeah, so I mean, one way of looking at it is that the amount of Bitcoin like issued in every block is its security budget. It's set basically independently of how much security is actually provided. So you can kind of look at it as it's set to create too much inflation until it creates too little security, which is kind of a interesting fluke of its design. What we saw over the weekend was that Bitcoin's fees rose precipitously, largely due to minting activity associated with this new project on it, Runes, which is basically a project bringing meme coins, which are really popular in Solana right now, to Bitcoin land. So even though the actual reward for minting a new Bitcoin or mining a new Bitcoin was halved, transaction fees were really high. Miners made a lot of money. So, but fees tend to be cyclical in Bitcoin land, whereas obviously rewards are more set in stone. So it's an interesting market for that reason alone.
We only got about 30 seconds left, I think, Kathleen, or maybe less. But this is the first time we've had a halving where it's happening at an all-time high, and it's always resulted in some pretty good momentum for the months after a halving. Will that happen again? Because we've already had a move with the ETFs or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think it's funny. It's not a large sample set of data to go on. It's only happened 3 times. It's happening a fourth. Definitely, there's a lot more sophisticated actors, and one would hope that the Bitcoin market would be less susceptible to sort of these self-fulfilling prophecies or memes. But unfortunately, that it also seems to ride very heavily on momentum. And, people are saying on the internet, it's obviously a lot of retail participation in the ETF market. So yeah, I think, it'll probably go up because people think it's going to go up, but I think it should have also been accounted for well ahead of time. So yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next clip. We have a bunch of little random clips. I want to start with, we'll go on with this one. Tom Lee, market is in a good position to rally as long as inflation tracks better than expected. This isn't just to do with Bitcoin, I don't think, but Tom Lee, I always like seeing him on the channel.
Guess who's here? Tom Lee, Fundstrat Global Advisors co-founder and a CNBC contributor. I was thinking, who would I like to talk to? And
he's like the modern day Albert Einstein. The hairdo.
There are some reasons that you think maybe we're nearing the end of whatever you want to call this tough period for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been a painful 2 weeks. I think some of the ways to think about why we're near an end is inflation expectations have way overshot to the upside. 1 year forward inflation is at 4.5%. It's where it was in October 2022, March 23, October 2023. So at the peak pessimism.
That's one thing.
Yeah, short interest has soared. Like 1 week, Goldman shows 1 week short interest in ETFs rose by the most since 2022. Median short interest in stocks is at basically a 3-year high. We're really oversold. If you look at internal measures like the percentage of stocks over their 20-day moving average, it's down to 8%. Again, a turning point. And now we just need a positive catalyst. I think as long as inflation tracks better than expected, I think we're in a good position to rally.
You look at different things in Katie Stockton, obviously. She said that there has been some damage, therefore she thinks there's maybe some more work. Not a whole lot more work, but maybe some more. Do you look at that? Has there been some damage, or do you see all positive indicators as far as maybe we're getting close to the end of the beginning of the end, end of the beginning?
Yeah, I think probability probably is what she's looking at, and I think there has been a lot of damage to the markets, but there are ways to look at why things could be turning. Mark Newton, our head of technical strategy, says the cycle turn date he was looking for is April 20th, and that's
420.
Yeah, 420.
Perfect.
And if you look at things like the DeMarc count, we're at almost a 7, so we're only 1 or 2 days from a potential bottom or turning point.
And we're oversold. We actually got oversold really quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, they say bull markets rise in an escalator, fall in an elevator. So it's what you'd expect in a rising trend is sharp corrections, and it shakes people out. And I think there's a lot of top callers, but to me, I think this is a good opportunity.
So also the day before 420, did you know 42024 is frontwards and backwards?
Oh, it's a palindrome number?
It certainly is.
I didn't know that.
The day before was the halving. And what does that mean to you for your Bitcoin
it's a reminder of the sound money of Bitcoin, right? Because it's pre-programmed every 210,000 blocks to cut the block reward. We know it means you're cutting supply, but demand has been strong, and actually Bitcoin network usage has really been strong because of things like the Brune protocol. So you've kind of made the demand side stronger and the supply side smaller. So I think it's upward pressure on price.
So you always have crazy forecasts. What's your forecast now? And I'm doing something while you're doing it.
Yeah,
What's your forecast?
well, I think Bitcoin definitely makes new all-time highs this year. So we think something like 150,000 is probable this year. And then longer term, I don't think there's anything wrong with those targets people have, like 500,000 for Bitcoin or much higher.
I was opening this for Andrew because first thing I read this morning was up the dirty money flying under the...
He opens a paper and starts talking about dirty money. He always gives Andrew shit every time they're on the same round table with anybody talking about Bitcoin. He's always poking at Andrew.
Yes. And I kept looking for the B word, and it's just not anywhere here. Not one thing about Bitcoin being used for the money laundering. So it can be done without Bitcoin, I guess.
Yes. I think that money launderers have successfully used other currencies
since the beginning of time.
Many years.
We always point that out,
and
right?
Commodities, collectibles.
I think it is good. I mean, ransomware is always Bitcoin, and that is.
It's why are you putting me in the middle of this shit?
The nastiest kind of I think, extortion.
That was great.
So, I mean, there can be some uses. But you can use cash, right?
And use cash.
Did you see that? You saw
I
that.
did see
Did
the
you think about me? I thought about you when I read that.
I wasn't expecting them to do that. That's hysterical. All right, moving on. Market divergence is a healthy opportunity for buyers, strategist says. Let's see what they got to say over here on Yahoo Finance. Let's do it.
We want to bring in Troy Gajewski. He is FS Investments Chief Market Strategist. Troy, we're going to join you at the desk here in just a minute. But first, just your take on some of that selling action that we've been seeing in the markets right now. Why shouldn't investors be too worried?
Well, big picture, right? What is driving the sell-off? It's stronger economic growth leading to stronger inflation, leading to bond market participants pushing back the expectation for Fed cuts, which were somewhat delusional to start with. So there's really nothing disastrous in terms of fundamentals. Earnings growth looks significantly powerful. However, higher yields should mean lower multiples, which is what we're seeing now.
I tried to remember that stat from FactSet off the top there, but I needed my paper to be able to reference exactly what they were laying out there, Troy. And kudos to you, too. Unfettered concentration as we were making our way over to the desk here as well here. You know, as we're thinking about this earnings season, what is one huge theme that you expect to emerge?
Well, I think it's divergence, right? So you think of a lot of the rebound from October 22 to really end of last year, very concentrated in Magnificent Seven. You know, every company, for the most part, Tesla maybe an exception, was doing very well. And this year you've seen much more significant divergence, right? Apple, which has obviously been a juggernaut, hasn't performed as well. Tesla's been a borderline train wreck. But and then on the other side, you have NVIDIA just monetizing, you know, the AI boom, which is something we've never really seen. In history, there really hasn't been a company like NVIDIA that has grown market cap so fast, but has grown earnings faster. Really, really remarkable. So the divergence, that's a healthy development for markets.
Should investors be looking at some of the selling that we were looking at last week and seeing that as a buying opportunity? When you take a look at overall the NASDAQ here coming off what was extremely terrible week here, worst week that we've seen in quite some time. Is that an entry point?
Yeah, I think you have to be a little careful in the short term because what's really driving markets, again, is the back end of the Treasury curve. And when you think of the limitless issuance that's going on, you think about the fact that inflation is persisting, it's very easy to imagine a 10-year breaching 5%. Remember, 5% was the limit we hit last year. So I think you want to be cautious in the short term. But when you look through the Magnificent Seven, you know, NVIDIA is obviously a clear winner, Amazon, Microsoft. So if you missed the upside and you need to add more mega cap beta, that might be a good thing to start with. However, just be cautious, right? Because we could certainly fall another 5 to 10% in the NASDAQ here.
Interesting. Okay. And so how much of a catalyst, one way or the other, is the Fed and the decision making that comes now, not even just in June, but going into the third quarter of this year?
Yeah, so as usual, the Fed is the most powerful financial institution in the world, right? And, you know, the interplay between Fed policy, money supply, Treasury valuations, always very critical. If the S&P was 16 times forward earnings, wouldn't matter as much. But we got back up to 21 times forward earnings, and even with strong earnings growth and a powerful economy, you can get multiple compression into elevated yields, which is exactly what we're seeing now.
So, Troy, what should investors then be doing if they need to be cautious on some of these larger cap tech names, especially here in the short term? What kind of changes or what kind of adjustments should they be making to their strategy, if any? Yeah,
well, look, I think the biggest challenge for investors right now isn't necessarily should they rotate more risk into the Magnificent Seven or mega cap tech. It's how to put those massive cash hoards to work that they've built, right? So you've built up over $2.5 trillion in money markets since the pandemic. T-bill ownership's off the charts. So one of the best things to do right now is look for alternatives you can embrace where you're meaningfully increasing your return without taking uncomfortable levels of risk, right? And by uncomfortable levels of risk, it was a reminder of the last 2 weeks that, you know, if you're adding risk at elevated valuations, you can walk into a meaningful correction. Who needs the volatility? If you can make high single digits or low teens, there are many democratized options now you can pursue.
Bitcoin, we got to talk about this for a hot second here. The halving taking place on Friday, the phenomenon happening roughly every 4 years, of course, the 210,000 blocks that need to be created here. I got to know, from your perspective, how much more of a tailwind that provides to some of the Bitcoin pricing now and how you're evaluating it.
Yeah, so classically, whenever you have new supply constrained, right, and demand stays constant, you get higher prices. Right. So, you know, Bitcoin's an incredibly cyclical asset. We'd expect more upside. The cautionary note, though, is it's unclear to everyone how much of that upside is already priced in because you had the ETF flows, the approval, the surge, and you already made new highs prior to the halving, which had never been done before. So from our perspective, we do expect further upside. However, you have to be cautious with volatility. Again, remember that term, uncomfortable levels of risk. If you can't tolerate a 10, 15, 20% drawdown, you probably shouldn't be invested in the first place. But I would be surprised if we're not at 50 to 100% over the next year.
When you talk about then that catalyst going forward, what is it going to be in order to get to those all-time highs?
So I think it's very dependent on whether ETF flows continue to be positive. Since ETF approval, it's almost been a perfect correlation. When there's flows coming in and the Wall Street marketing machine can attract new capital, Bitcoin goes up. When there's outflows, it corrects or goes the other way. So, it's very difficult to predict that, but you would think as there's more and more adoption, there will at least be enough flows to absorb new supply and then some, which will drive price higher.
And then additionally here, when we think about some of the other ETFs that could potentially be listed this year, do you think that there's any perhaps large difference in the number of people who are willing to flow into Bitcoin or continue to flow into Bitcoin versus the ETFs that have been put forward like Ethereum or some of the other altcoins?
Yeah, I think Bitcoin's very different because it's really got institutionalized last cycle, meaning there was always the ability to attract capital away from, let's call it, the crypto community. I think when you're talking about other cryptos, for instance, Ethereum, there's a lot of debate over whether Solana is going to eat their lunch or not. You have very disappointing performance so far in this cycle. And I just don't see the same degree of institutional adoption like you have with Bitcoin. Because ultimately, Bitcoin, it's hard money. It's an inflation hedge. It's a government profligacy hedge that more and more institutions are adopting.
Troy, great to see you in person.
Great to be here as well.
Thanks for coming in studio. Troy,
crazy. Shout out to Yahoo Finance for that. Let's move on a little bit more. Yahoo Finance. We have Fireblock CEO talks Bitcoin mining price outlook and AI. Let's see what they got to say over here. Guys, that like button. Appreciate you for hanging out.
Bitcoin completing its halving on a Friday. Now, the process that happens every 4 years. Take a look at the price of Bitcoin and some of the reaction that we're seeing play out this morning. We're actually seeing prices move further to the upside, now above 66,000. Now, one of the big questions, though, that remains is the effect it's going to have on the business for Bitcoin miners themselves and that pressure that could look like here for revenue, at least in the short term. We want to bring in Michael Shalev. He is the CEO of Fireblocks. Michael, it's good to have you here. So talk to us just about the price action that we've seen in Bitcoin miners, because they're actually holding up better than many had feared as a result here of this halving. So what's going on?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Basically, what we're currently seeing is that the activity of the Bitcoin network just continues. What we're hearing, so we're basically servicing some of the Bitcoin miners from a custody technology standpoint. And what we're hearing from them is that they continue to invest. They actually think that they're going to be compensated on the halving, the fact that they're now getting half of the price. And I don't think we are going to see the market sort of dropping, at least this is not what they're expecting.
What is the expectation for the prices that Bitcoin miners are expecting to have to factor in to their expense base now?
Yeah, so just to maybe take half a step back, basically the way that Bitcoin miners getting their rewards, there are two parts to it. The first part is that they need to solve a puzzle which basically secures the Bitcoin network. And the second part is basically the fees of the people that are doing the Bitcoin transactions, what they're willing to pay. So after the halving, basically the first part of getting rewards for solving the puzzle, that was dropped by half. And therefore, what they anticipate is that the Bitcoin prices will continue to rise, so they will be able to continue and buy the energy that they need to operate the network.
Michael, when you take into account some of the things or some of the changes that crypto miners are undergoing right now, I've been seeing more and more headlines talking about the shift to AI and how they are employing AI to offset some of that increased cost. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what that opportunity looks like and I guess the benefit that this will ultimately be here for some of those miners in the longer term?
Yeah, I think that there is a narrative of using the same compute that is being used to operate the mining. So, for example, some of the NVIDIA cards and allocate some of that to AI workloads. But right now, with the prices that we see in terms of Bitcoin, this is still quite profitable for the miners. So it's not clear that if that shift to AI is something that is actually a hedge, assuming that the Bitcoin activity will become less profitable. It's definitely not something that we're seeing right now.
Michael, there's a new protocol here as well that's come along with this most recent halving. And I think we're trying to kind of wrap our heads around exactly what that means going forward from here, especially for a lot of the potential Bitcoin investors called runes, I believe it is. And so, I mean, does that change how people should be thinking about Bitcoin, about the problem-solving equation and the mining process at all? Or is this just something that was to be expected coming along with this halving?
Yeah, so as part of what we were seeing in the last year with Bitcoin, we started to see NFTs, basically non-fungible tokens, something what we've seen in the previous cycle. And that activity has sort of started to become somewhat popular on Bitcoin.
Real quick, Mr. Crypto for Seniors, Midwest Mining. Appreciate you for the $2 super chat. 240 people watching, only 68 likes. I don't have cleavage, that's why. Help jump out, hit the like button. Thank you very much.
That actually creates a lot of activity on the Bitcoin network, where essentially people need to pay fees.
Sorry, I was looking up the Bitcoin network hash rate, and I think we dropped like 50 exahashes or so. I don't think it's been that much, to be honest. Let me see. I was trying to read this over here. Well, that's why I didn't realize he sent the super chat. But yeah, we're at, what is that, 650, I guess, and we're down to like 620, so 30, so above 30, right? I don't know why it says terahashes, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be exahashes. If we look, historical chart, sorry, flashbang, kill you guys over here. 662 exahashes, it says. We were at, I guess, over 700 at one point. So we're, I mean, I guess, yeah, about a little over 50 or so, depending. Weird. Yeah, I was just looking at that, seeing where we were.
Right, to operate that protocol. And therefore, the miners are able to gain, or basically get some of the offset from the halving from that new activity.
Michael, what do you see as the biggest?
Max says it's not about whether you have it, it's whether you show it or not. And if you guys don't know,
you guys don't get to 100 likes, I'm going to show you my cleavage.
Near-term
that was Max Voltage on one of his off days.
Drivers of the crypto price action.
Yeah, I think that what we are about to see is that with the Bitcoin ETF coming in and some of the regulatory clarity that we are starting to see on the global scale, we'll start seeing more and more players that are able to offer access to a bigger investor base. So essentially both retail and professional and institutional investors. And that will probably what would start driving the prices up, both for Bitcoin and other cryptos. For other cryptos, especially for protocols like Ethereum, Polygon, Solana, and so on, we're actually seeing real utility in terms of payments, Web3, royalties, and things like that, increasing the adoption. And therefore, those are much more mainstream activities that are going to drive the prices of some of those protocols.
It's kind of interesting that he mentioned Polygon. That's kind of that's different. All right, Bitcoin halving, expect more upside, but be cautious of volatility, strategist says. Let's see what he's got to say. I think, I don't know if we already heard this in that longer interview. Let's see.
Bitcoin, we got to talk about this for a hot second.
Yes,
the halving taking place on Friday.
We already saw this. My bad. That was already part of the longer one. All right, Bitcoin halving isn't a magical event for investors, financial consultants says. Let's see what they got to say over here. Let's do it.
Well, Bitcoin completed its halving on Friday, the process that happens every 4 years. The event helps control the supply and shape of Bitcoin by reducing the mining rewards over time. Now, prices higher on the news, and Bitcoin bulls are pleased to see the upside this morning as it's up over the past 24-hour period by about 1.4%. But for those who aren't invested in Bitcoin and looking to get into the crypto market, perhaps, it could be a good time to think about it. For more on this, I'm joined by Tyrone Ross, 401 financial principal and founder, to weigh in. He's got his Bitcoin t-shirt. I mean, that's like a la champion logo that we had seen. So in the stylings of that, great to see you, Tyrone. Walk us into the thought process that a lot of people should be thinking about with regard to this most recent halving and whether or not it's time to consider adding Bitcoin to the portfolio.
Yeah, key word there is thinking. I think if you were thinking about getting in, you should continue to think about it. The halving shouldn't change anything there.
Why do you have to say halving so weird?
It's literally written in the code. TikTok, next block, as we say, it's just going to continue. It's not this special thing or magical event that makes Bitcoin any more or less compelling to invest in. Because if you loved it 2-3 years ago, you should think about loving it now and continuing to learn. With that said, folks that are thinking about getting in, the halving is something that you should learn about and realizing, as you mentioned into the lead here, the decrease in supply and demand. We all know about that. We've heard about that. But some of the other dynamics that are out there with the Bitcoin ETFs, the price of running up into an all-time high before this halving, which is the first time that it's happened. So things like that, I think, are interesting to learn. And then if it still makes sense from you from a long-term time horizon, it would make sense to buy then, but not a second before.
I mean, with the amount of supply, it seems like there are going to be halvings. I believe the year that I saw was into 2140. It's going to far outlive any of us unless we come across Tony Stark's arc reactor between now and then, and we're able to exponentially add on to our lifespans. But all those things considered, when you think about the limited supply that is baked in, how much also in advance of having events like this do we see it get baked into the price? And a lot of investors already expecting the event to come about. So
it's very rare that you hear like the Yahoo guy say halving correctly and the guy that's like advocating for Bitcoin can't say it right.
Trying to get ahead of what that price action would have been or could have been.
Yeah, and on Crypto X last week, there was a lot of argument, as it was in the previous halvings, about is it priced in? Well, yeah, for all intent and purposes, for something that is written in the code and you know what's coming, it's priced in. But if I know every Friday that my parents are going to take me to McDonald's as a kid, it's priced in. I know that excitement is coming. But certain things may change. It may be raining that day. They may be late to pick me up. The French fries might be cold. I still went to McDonald's. So what am I saying here? Yes, it's priced in, but everyone interprets that information differently. So I think what needs to happen is, yeah, it's priced in. The more you understand and you are close to the Schelling points with Bitcoin and everything that goes on in crypto, it's easier to get information to make decisions. But I can tell you, I am almost 11 years into the space now. The halving was nothing for me.
You've had 11 years to practice saying halving and you can't figure it out yet?
I said this on social media. I think we're going to look back years from now and ask people, well, how many halvings have you held through?
That was the wrong
I mean,
one.
that's going to be the metric as opposed to did you buy before it or did you buy after it? I don't think that's the thing folks should be looking about if they're looking at this as a long-term addition to their portfolio.
We want to introduce folks to a new term as a result of this halving as well. And we spoke with Fireblock's CEO, Michael Shalov, who gave us the definition, at least from his perspective, of runes here. And then I want to get your reaction on the other side of this. We're just going to run a clip real quick.
We'll start seeing more and more players that are able to offer access to a bigger investor base. So essentially both retail and professional and institutional investors. And that will probably what would start driving the prices up, both for Bitcoin and other cryptos.
Okay, so that was his reaction to what the institutional side is looking for with this new protocol. I would love to know from your perspective what the significance of this runes protocol is post-halving.
The significance is what you saw for the 100 blocks post-halving. It was very interesting to see it on social media, was just the amount of fees that were being paid to the blockchain. It was remarkable to see how much fees increased. And one of the issues that folks have always talked about was when the supply goes away and there's no more Bitcoin to be mined, then what happens for miners? And I think those fees show that there are people that are going to use Bitcoin and willing to pay fees in order to introduce themselves to the security of the base layer and make things immutable. And runes are just essentially meme coins for Bitcoin. And all that means is that you'll be able to, and you saw all these funny names for coins that now are going to be introduced on Bitcoin like it is on other chains like Solana and Ethereum and things like that. So it introduces a really interesting dynamic of you can use the Bitcoin blockchain for whatever you want. And you got some Bitcoin maxis who hated it because it clogged blocks. And, you know, the miners love it because the fees are there, but that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It's different things to different people, and no one gets to choose what it is or it isn't.
Yeah, I guess he's not wrong. entirely. All right, let's see. We have Bitcoin prices could hit up to $200,000. Sunnyside Digital CEO says. Let's see what they got to say over here on Yahoo Finance again.
Bitcoin prices are slightly up just days after the fourth Bitcoin halving took place. For more on what the halving means for the cryptocurrency and those Bitcoin miners, we're joined by Taras Kulik, founder and CEO of Sunnyside Digital. Taras, thanks so much for being here. Bitcoin prices above 66,000 today. Typically, we do see prices rally about 12 to 18 months after each halving, but we've seen such a run up in the price action this past year as we've seen these launches of the crypto ETFs. So how do you assess what's already been priced into the price of Bitcoin versus how much room there is to really run here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Multi-layer, actually. What we've seen over the past few months, really this massive rally that's come up to the halving, I think has been driven by a lot of macro, a lot of geopolitical instability. You look at the amount of capital flowing into the ETFs, that ETPs that were finally launched and approved by the SEC in the United States based on the courts getting involved. Really being the catalyst to a lot of that pricing upside that we've seen year to date, as well as over the past 3 to 4 months in 2023 at the back end. The confidence that we're seeing now really is in, I'd like to think, the developer and transaction fee activity that we've been seeing on the Bitcoin protocol since the halving. In fact, several different type of new protocols have launched on top of the Bitcoin network, which have been really driving the transaction fee value that's providing the economic backstop for the mining ecosystem that my company, Sunnyside Digital, supports.
Taras, I'm also curious, just, listen, you know this space so well. Was there any kind of meaningful differences, Taras, between this halving and previous ones? Anything that kind of distinguish it, set it apart?
Yeah, massive. The key differences are really the adoption integration of Bitcoin into overall global portfolios. We're seeing massive sovereign wealth funds, ultra high net worth individuals, countries themselves getting involved in Bitcoin. And I'm not talking about El Salvador, Bhutan, but major global players are looking at Bitcoin as not necessarily an alternative to gold, but a supplement to gold as we see the headwinds in geopolitical risk globally. What they've also really come to appreciate is that this truly is a decentralized, hard type of wealth store of value, really. And as the politics and risk and volatility continues to happen, Bitcoin does seem like a safe haven asset that is backed by the electrons that digital miners actually use to create new Bitcoin.
Where do you see Bitcoin prices heading to the end of the year?
I wish I had a crystal ball, but I would be very conservative in saying at least 100,000, likely to the 150 to up to 200,000 per coin itself. Perfect. Scarcity has actually doubled since last week, where the halving went from 6.25 BTC created every 10 minutes to 3.125. So although the transaction fees are supportive of the digital mining ecosystem, the actual true commodity being created has, unlike the US dollar or other currencies that are continually printed, decreased in issuance. And so because of that, more ETFs are actually being launched globally. The price should have a very good backstop with the demand for the underlying commodity itself.
So just want to say quick, when people start saying price projections on the news, that's typically when I get worried that we're going to have a pullback, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
So you see us moving to at least 100,000. What would be the downside risk to the call, Taras?
The downside risk could be, large-scale liquidations from some of the previous bankruptcies, or call it the Silk Roads of the world. We do know that some of the FTX coins have been moving around, and from my understanding, actually the Silk Road BTC that was taken from the insolvency committee has actually started to be distributed. So if there are people that need immediate liquidity, they could certainly be dumping into the market. However, the risk for large-scale investors to dump into the market probably won't happen for at least another year and a half, just because of how fresh some of those allocations are. That being said, with a globally dispersed ETF ecosystem, I think the volatility that we've seen in the past of anywhere from 10 to 40% in a day are probably behind us, which is a good thing because this is an investment asset that is really maturing.
Crypto KJ asked if this guy sold his staff to buy Bitcoin. There's nobody behind him.
And Taras, you say there will be a surge in M&A activity within the mining sector throughout this year and next year. Why do you see that M&A uptick, and what names specifically do you think could potentially merge?
That was good.
Yeah, so we've actually seen some M&A already. We've seen some M&A with Hut 8 USBTC, a Canadian company merging in with the US operator. Marathon and CleanSpark have been very aggressive in some of their asset purchasing. Unfortunately, there's still some public companies out there that look like they could be acquired or rolled into a larger operation. Folks like Mawson, Applied Digital, Stronghold, they're all been under significant stress and pressure. Argo as well could potentially be an M&A target, or even like a company that's used for reverse takeovers for access to the public markets. The reason this is happening is because, again, this sector really is maturing. And what maturation provides to typical industries is consolidation of the number of players. We're going to go from 20 to 30 public market companies to maybe 10, 15 higher quality at scale companies. And we're actually seeing this in the services sector that supports these large data center operators as well, because they'd rather work with a large at-scale service provider for their needs, which are approaching a gigawatt of power utilization, than small mom-and-pop shops that are 10, 15 employees. And so that's something that my company, Sunnyside Digital, is actually working on quite actively right now, is trying to consolidate the services and support space as well for the large data center operators.
Nice. Shout out to Yahoo Finance for that. Real quick, Jason Hamilton said, I don't know, Chump. He said it follows Murphy's Law to expect a pullback after hype. I don't think it's hype to talk about BTC soaking up the fiat. And you know what? Putting it that way, I really don't disagree with you. Brian Kelly talks about focusing on Bitcoin's fundamentals after its fourth halving. Let's see what they got to say over here on CNBC television. Let's do it.
Joining us now to talk about the effects of the halving on all things crypto is our resident Bitcoin aficionado, Brian Kelly. It's great to have you here.
Good to be here.
What do you expect? Are we going to see another 450% rise after this halving, or does the effect sort of dissipate each time?
So I think it's certainly the halving effect is going to dissipate. If you talk about how many dollars into the market this is, you're talking about last week it was about $60 million a day of sell pressure. That's now cut in half to $30 million a day. But you're talking about $1 trillion market. So it's very, very small. So I think if anything, it's going to be the psychological impact of it and the fact that we're all saying, hey, look at this 4-year cycle that we have out there. Probably what's more important, though, is when you get to see some of these bigger brokerage firms come online. So Morgan Stanley, UBS, once they are online and they can have their customers start come into Bitcoin, that's a lot of pent-up demand.
What about with the ETFs?
Right.
How does that change the game?
That's going to drive the next bull run, in my opinion, and everybody else's opinion, too, I assume.
Because last halving, we didn't have ETFs.
That's right. And I think actually it changes tremendously. That's why Morgan Stanley and UBS are so important, because up to this point, they have not been able to buy those ETFs. Their clients haven't been able to buy it. So if you think about it, you now have has an asset with the most demand it's ever going to have, right? You've got all these people just able to come on, and supply has been cut. Coins on exchange are down. So you're having a whole bunch of pent up and potential demand hitting lower supply. To me, that's the bullish setup for Bitcoin.
We had a segment on earlier where we were talking about gold. Do you think Bitcoin will ever be a safe haven type asset?
I think eventually it could be, but I think we're talking 10 to 20 years down the road. Okay. I mean, this is really, it is still in the early stages of acceleration here.
What did geopolitics, what kind of impact does that have on the price of Bitcoin?
So it's had a positive impact until the last weekend, frankly, right? So Bitcoin was correlated very highly with gold. Anytime you'd have a geopolitical hiccup, you'd see Bitcoin catch a bid. Although over the weekend, when we saw the Israel-Iran attacks, we saw Bitcoin dump. And I think it's kind of trying to figure out what its personality is and as it gets more ingrained into the financial system and there's more different type of traders, it's going to start to get correlated to other markets.
It's interesting. It's great to have you on. My best to Brian Kelly, by the way. But I would have thought it's traded extraordinarily well. But as the amount of Fed rate cuts continues to come down, and maybe they're getting religion, should it be trading better or should it be trading worse? That's really what I'm trying to struggle with here. I mean, you can make an argument either way.
You could make an argument about it. I'll give you my argument on this. I think the Fed has told us that they're going to tolerate higher levels of inflation to reduce the debt to GDP. What does that mean? That means that your buying power in your currency is going to go down. So your groceries are going up. You're just not going to have as much buying power. So to me, even if the Fed says, hey, as long as the Fed says we're not going to raise rates to 10% and really crush inflation, I think Bitcoin does well in the two scenarios that we're talking about. An even Fed or Fed rate cuts.
Beeks, what are some other ways that, some folks, I mean, now that these Bitcoin spot ETFs, that you can get that sort of exposure, you can buy it on an IRA if you want to, that sort of thing. What are some other ways that you're thinking about playing this? If you do take that 10 to 20 year view that it's going to be this ecosystem that's created, other than the ETF, other than buying Bitcoin straight out, what are some other things that, viewers should look at?
Yeah, so I would look at some of the other coins. So that would be Ethereum. Ethereum and Solana are probably the two that you could buy this cycle. Because those are going to be the ones that the new financial system's built on top of. So decentralized finance, you've heard about DeFi. Those are the two that are really in the lead for building that. You could also...
It's nice to see them start really talking about Solana. The last couple ones we've seen, they've actually mentioned Solana a lot. That's crazy.
So look towards the miners on that as well. Although the mining's a rough business. I mean, there's a lot of capital expenditure. You have to worry about electricity, but that's another way to kind of play the ecosystem.
Yeah, guys, just... man, I don't know. Solana's a good deal. It's going to be huge. See what happens. All right, crypto is no longer the Wild West, Bitcoin expert says over here in Fox Business. See what they got to say here.
Well, Bitcoin having a really strong session right now, up 3% to 66,373 per coin after its first halving event since 2020 concluded on Friday. Over the weekend, the token has been on a steady climb, rising 5%. Now, the Bitcoin halving event is this moment that occurs about every 4 years when the supply of Bitcoin is reduced by 50%. It also cuts incentives to Bitcoin miners and drives up the price they have to pay to put new Bitcoins into circulation. Joining me now in a Fox Business exclusive on maybe the next catalyst is the Bitcoin Foundation chair, Brock Pierce, an early adopter, very early adopter of Bitcoin. Brock, okay, so the halving event has concluded.
He looks like Frank from Shameless, if anybody's seen that.
Everybody was waiting years for that. What is the next catalyst you see?
That's funny.
Well, I mean, it's what we've seen. Bitcoin had record fees during this halving because a lot of what we call layer
He's smart as shit. I was just joking, but he's smart as hell.
two technologies, the idea of building on Bitcoin. If you've heard of Ethereum, it's all the other applications that had moved away from Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is back and delivering smart functionality, NFT functionality, meme technologies. All of these things are now being built on top of Bitcoin for the first time since almost a decade ago. And so in anticipation of that, record fees as people are trying to get in to be the first on having all these new things that are being built on top of Bitcoin. Very exciting. And I'm happy with the price. Remember, people buy the rumor and sell on the news. So we were at $20,000, call it, earlier this year. We had a record high. Usually there's a bit of a sell-off leading to the actual event, hence the news. And we're in a very good position. Very bullish on Bitcoin right now.
Yep.
What do you guys think about the whole sell in May and go away? What people usually say about crypto, and usually have pullbacks around then.
And then the record high was above $70,000. We've come a little bit off the boil there, but I look at what's going on with Bitcoin right now, and you could argue that the biggest fire that lit the heat under Bitcoin was the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETFs, which today are moving in lockstep with Bitcoin. That's what they do, and they're moving higher. When you look at some of these spot Bitcoin ETFs, is there any difference between any of them beyond the fee that's charged? I just want to educate our viewers on that.
Well, nothing that I've seen in terms of these are regulated vehicles. They're all required to be the best in breed, best practices. Mm-hmm. This is no longer the Wild West, and remember the Wild West became California, but this is kind of like BCAD. Once the SEC approved these spot Bitcoin ETFs, this is now institutional, it's regulated, and it is here to stay, and the retail public can now safely invest. It's not like it used to be. You don't have to worry about losing your Bitcoin as you did for so long, though we still have a motto we like to live by, which is not your keys, not your coins, meaning once you've learned and you've been in the ETF markets for a long time, please take the time to educate yourself on how to hold Bitcoin for yourself and be your own custodian.
You advised El Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele back just a couple of years ago when he was quite a forward thinker. Some said absolutely crazy. And what he did was he allowed the country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. It's been a good chunk of time here. Can you open the window into how that is going? Are people using it in El Salvador to pay for things?
Yeah, well, a few things happened. One, President Bukele went from a head of state to a world leader. The future favors the bold. Fortune favors the bold. And a lot of amazing things have come from that. But at the time, only 30% of the population of El Salvador was banked. The Chivo wallet and the government incentive to give free Bitcoin to everyone that registered caused from 30% financial inclusion to 70% financial inclusion within 12 months. I'd say that's flipping the script in terms of driving accessibility for those that don't have access to financial tools, where we as Americans are so blessed and often take for granted.
Brock, what's your outlook? I always love to ask you this for Bitcoin and the price of it in the next, let's just say, year.
Well, I think there's a very good chance that I think it's likely we'll see north of 100,000. I think 150,000 is probably a reasonable target at some point this year. And long term, it's a million or more. It's a binary outcome. Bitcoin goes either to zero, not really, or over $1 million, unless, something happens. So it's really binary in terms of what will happen over time. And so I'm bullish. I definitely advise everyone to go out and buy at least $100, $50, $20 of Bitcoin if you've never done it before, or put just a little bit in your retail brokerage account so that you can begin learning. I don't encourage people to invest in things other than themselves. Take the time to be informed so you can make informed decisions for yourself.
Brock, good
that
to
was
see
actually great advice from him, and I definitely would advise the same thing. You should at least have a little bit in your custody. Real quick, Creepto, thank you for the $5 super chat, and dude, awesome. Thank you so much for your first super chat on a live stream. He said, can I email you with some dumb questions, please? Yeah, absolutely. Contact at chumpchangexd.com. It's in my about section on the YouTube page. All right, let's move on to CNBC television. Bitcoin rises past 66,000 in the days following the network's fourth halving. Crypto World, CNBC television. Let's do it.
Today, Bitcoin climbs to start the week just 3 days after the network completed its latest halving. The Binance executive on the run from Nigerian authorities is reportedly found in Kenya. And Nico Cordero, CIO of quant digital asset hedge fund Strix Leviathan, discusses Bitcoin's post-halving rise.
I agree, DJ. F that, full send, YOLO, spend all you got, bull run. Yeah, dude, honestly, the gains are going to be insane this time around. At least that's what we're all anticipating. So, you know how it goes, though. Like, if everybody's anticipating the same thing, it usually rarely goes that way. But in this instance, the ETF, there's no chance that the BlackRock and these big companies aren't opening these ETFs to allow this asset to fail, right? So I'm expecting us to probably go over six figures at some point in the peak of the bull run, but you guys need to get your number like set where you're going to sell and stick to that number. And who cares if it goes up more? You still made money. You know what I mean?
Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Jordan Smith. Crypto prices in the green to kick off the week 3 days after the Bitcoin network completed its fourth halving. The key technical event reduced the rewards earned by miners from 6.25 Bitcoin to 3.125. As of noon Eastern, Bitcoin climbed 1.5% to $66,000. Ether rose less than 1% to just under $3,200, and Solana jumped 2.25% to $153. Ahead of the halving, the price of Bitcoin had been volatile. Mechanically, the halving itself shouldn't affect the price of Bitcoin in the short term, but many investors are expecting big gains in the months ahead. That's based on the cryptocurrency's performance after previous halvings. Mining stocks have also been volatile in the days leading up to the halving event, with some down by double digits for the year after rallying between 300 and 600% in 2023. Riot Platforms, for example, is down more than 30% so far this year, but it surged 356% in 2023.
Oh, geez.
All right, let's talk about the top stories. Sam Bankman-Fried has agreed to turn over documents to FTX customers in exchange for his dismissal from a class action lawsuit. According to a proposed settlement filed on April 19th, SBF agreed to aid in victim recovery in a pending class action lawsuit against FTX promoters. That would include testimony and any documents within his access, like information on his investment in AI firm Anthropic. He must also produce information on a list of people and parties, including Tom Brady, Shaquille O'Neal, Steph Curry, the MLB, and other former promoters. This comes after Sam Bankman-Fried was sentenced to 25 years in prison for fraud and conspiracy back in March. He's appealing that sentence. Next, Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust is facing a steady march of outflows while its competitors gain steam. The trust has faced a 30% cut to its assets under management since its conversion to a spot ETF was approved, from $28.6 billion on January 10th to $19.6 billion as of Friday.
Well, that's because they're greedy as shit and they wouldn't lower their fees.
At the same time, BlackRock's IBIT ETF has garnered soaring attention. The ETF has ballooned to $17.5 billion under management. That's according to FactSet. One of the biggest differentiators of the two ETFs is the fee charged to investors in the fund. Grayscale charges 1.5% compared to BlackRock's 0.25%. The other 10 spot Bitcoin ETFs trading in the US have lower fees similar to BlackRock's offering. Grayscale's looking to combat this with its upcoming mini Bitcoin ETF, a spin-off of GBTC, which it announced back in March. The asset manager proposed that that fund could have fees as low as 0.15%, although that number could change. Finally, Nadeem Anjarwalla, the Binance executive who escaped Nigerian custody, has reportedly been found in Kenya. Local news outlet Daily Post reported last week that law enforcement agencies in both countries were working on Anjarwalla's extradition. The outlet cited a source close to the Nigerian presidency. Anjarwalla was arrested alongside another Binance executive after the country brought tax evasion charges back in March. Binance said at the time that its primary focus was on the safety of its employees and was working collaboratively with Nigerian authorities to resolve the issue. We reached out to the Nigerian police force about the story, but haven't heard back yet.
Of course not.
All right, let's talk more about markets for our main story. I spoke with Nico Cordero, the CIO of Strix Leviathan, about Bitcoin's performance post-halving and what likely will be the next catalyst for the crypto market in 2024. All right, Nico, the halving is here, it's done, and there was some discussion about just how it would affect markets given that it seemed to be so priced in. I mean, JP Morgan said to expect some declines because of that, because Bitcoin was overbought. Others told us that the price would hold or even go up right as it is right now. As of Monday morning, it seems like that seems to be true. But what are you seeing, and what is your reaction to how Bitcoin has performed in the immediate aftermath after the latest halving?
You know, I think price action has been much in line with how it normally behaves. I mean, the big move that we saw over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, was really driven by the geopolitical instability with Iran and Israel. That had quite a negative kickback on the market. But, you know, it's since recovered well. And I think we're kind of continuing to be firm on our thesis that the remainder of the year is going to be pretty interesting and bullish for cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, talk about your thesis for the rest of the year. I feel like the big catalysts that everybody was expecting, the halving and the ETFs, have happened. They're here. What are your expectations now that we move past those events into the rest of 2024? Are there any expectations or things that people aren't talking about that we should be watching?
Well, I think the industry has a habit of kind of focusing on crypto native narratives, right? So like you mentioned, the ETFs and the halving, I don't think those are not consequential. They're important. But our thesis, really starting from mid last year, was that the Federal Reserve was on a trajectory to lower rates, despite inflation being sticky, despite fiscal spending being at record levels. And that kind of sets up a good setup for risk, both on the technology side and on the cryptocurrency side. So, you know, there's a long going debate of whether Bitcoin is a safe haven asset or is it a high risk, high beta asset. And so we kind of view the latter, and we just think, generally speaking, from a macro overview, it looks pretty good for crypto.
Well, let's talk about those macro pressures, because expectations for rate cuts have been pushed back on a daily basis. It feels like we're now looking at potentially 2025 before we see our first rate cut. And in that environment, and with, if we are going back to macro pressures being the focus for crypto, how much are the expectations for rate cuts, if they are getting delayed, going to be a bad thing for Bitcoin? Is that something you're watching as a potential negative for Bitcoin?
Our view, or my view, is it's not necessarily what the rate is sitting at, but it's the expectation of how they're going to change. I think the strong reaction we saw across really all risk assets when the political instability started between Iran and Israel was, you know, is the price of oil going to skyrocket? Is that going to re-engage inflation higher? And is that going to change the expectation from eventually we're on a downward path to, oh no, now rates are getting raised again? And so that had a large impact. As the dust has settled, it seems like we're now back to our base case where eventually they're on a downward trajectory. And I don't think it matters where we're at today for the rest of the year, 2025. It just matters that that's our trajectory.
In terms of geopolitical pressures, I mean, obviously there is uncertainty about what's happening in the Middle East. There's uncertainty about what's happening with Ukraine. We have these foreign aid bills going through Congress right now. is any of that political pressure, especially with those bills going through Congress, something that crypto investors are watching out for? I mean, if they pass, is there going to be any sort of price reflection in the price if and when they pass?
I don't think there'd be a direct impact, but it's just more along the thesis that fiscal spending is at record levels, inflation is sticky, but we're going to continue down this path to lowering rates at some point over the next year or two. I don't think any individual, bill passing is going to change that. Where the crypto market really reacts strongly is where expectations change. And so that's what we saw last week or 2 weeks ago. But things have kind of realigned and expectations are online. I think we'll continue to see risk perform well for the rest of the year.
If I can go back to some of the crypto specific catalysts, we were talking about ETFs earlier. And obviously one of the ones that people are watching out for are the Ether ETFs, and we could get an answer to those starting next month. And asset managers aren't as optimistic about the approval of those as they were about Bitcoin ETFs. Do you think that would be seen as a setback for the market if those do get shut down by the SEC, or will investors look past it?
I think that would initially be a setback, but investors will look past it, in my opinion. I'm kind of bullish there. I think the ETFs will get approved. I don't know the timeline, but I think that's the path we're on, and I expect them to be approved over the next, call it 9 months at some point. So that's another bullish catalyst on the crypto native side of things. Beyond that, the industry just continues to develop and build what we've been trying to build for the last, 10 plus years, which is a decentralized financial economy. Today, it's kind of a joke. We're trading meme coins on Solana, not us personally, but that's generally the industry. But all of that is, the first use case, the base case, the beta for a larger financial ecosystem. And we're seeing that happen on Bitcoin today too. With the launch of runes at the halving block, we've seen transaction fees spike. There's now activity on the Bitcoin blockchain. Those are all exciting developments.
Yeah, I want to ask about the altcoin environment right now to end. At the end of the last cycle, in the middle of crypto winter, people were talking about, we'll really focus on strategy on the most important projects. And now that interest is back, we are seeing meme tokens trade again. And I'm curious if this trading environment feels any different now than it did last time. Are people still banking on FOMO for some of these meme token trades, or is there something inherently different this time around?
To me, it all feels exactly the same. It's like every cycle, people have to rediscover like the wild side of this industry, right? But I've seen a slew probably in the last month or two.
Real quick, Pellish Miner, thank you for being a member for 5 months. He said, I wish for everyone to be safe today and for the caveman to get a new curling iron. You talking about the guy on the news channel?
With, very serious industry people
Thanks,
talking
buddy.
about how the industry is all of a sudden a joke, or it's meme coins this or meme coins that. And I'm like, does nobody remember Crypto Kitties in 2017 or Ether Rocks, which are still some of the
That's a good point.
In the space?
You guys remember that stuff, Crypto Kitties or whatever it was? I wasn't really around then, but I heard about it.
I mean, this is just very typical of the space. There's
Didn't that
some
shit get rugged?
big technological advances here, in my opinion, from rebuilding the financial ecosystem around the globe. But at the end of the day, the number one use case today is gambling, and we see that every cycle when things start to get hot.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of people are gambling right now with cryptocurrency, obviously. All right, what we're going to do is I'm not going to go to the videos of the day. I was going to watch Pomp over here. Bitcoin life insurance is coming fast. I don't know. It's like a 30-minute video. We're not going to watch this. I don't have time, unfortunately. I have to get back to daddy duty, as you guys know. But I will put this in the live chat, and if you guys are interested, go watch it. I'm going to watch it later on today. Maybe we'll watch it tomorrow, depending if it's really good or not. But recapping things, let's see. We are at Bitcoin 66,234 bucks. This shit's holding pretty good. We have Ethereum 3184. Solana is 154 bucks. I mean, what do you guys think? Where do you think Solana is going to be at the peak of the bull run? What do you guys think? Yeah, diaper duty, pretty much. That's how it goes. Thankfully, one of my kids is fully potty trained, so I don't have to worry about that. But my son still gotta deal with the diapers there. What do you guys think Solana is going to be at? I think closer to 500 bucks easy for Solana. That's just my opinion. ETC $27 as of right now, almost 28 bucks. I think that's going to be doing very well. Caspa, I think, is going to be doing really well. I think if it breaks over 13 cents, maybe 13.5 cents, we should see another leg up, hopefully. Let's see what happens there. Dogecoin 15, 16 cents almost. We have XRP. I don't know about this coin, man. I don't know. XRP, I have some, but it's I don't know what it's gonna do. I don't know if it's gonna go anywhere. 800 to 1K is automatic beats. 500 to 1,000 somewhere in there for Solana. Yeah, Nerd Beast, that was what I was saying. 500 to 1,000, but I would say 500 easy. I'm just gonna state a low number of things just in case. But I don't know. I still think it's a decent buy. Why not? APU is ripping. I don't know what APU is. APU. CoinGecko. You know what? We'll go to CoinMarketCap. If I could spell. Nope. Let's see. Mr. Patrick Murphy, thanks for being a member for 9 months, and much love for doing this every morning. It gets my day off on the right foot every time, and it's appreciated. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you very much for that. Perfect. Means a lot. All right, let's see. What is APU? What the hell is that? I have no idea. Oh, some shitty meme coin. Don't buy this, anybody. Please don't buy this. Shitty meme coin. That's what you're telling me to look at right now. I only looked at it because you didn't tell me to look at it, but I didn't know what it was. I've never heard of it. APU. Yeah, definitely not something we'll be going into. All right, so you know what I noticed over here on CoinMarketCap? This fear and greed index is always lagged behind. It's always in a different spot. Greed 65, fear and greed on the overall consensus, the actual fear and greed index is at 71. Let me just refresh. Yeah, it's 71. Next update in 10 hours, 22 minutes, and 13 seconds. I don't know why CoinMarketCap's always a little bit off on that, but weird. Anyways, all right. He's a shiller, no past history. Yeah, I wouldn't. Definitely don't invest into that coin. That is if you want to lose all your money, please go there type of coin. Anyways, everything's looking good, guys. Market's looking fantastic. Things are holding up great. Can't really complain. Bitcoin's doing great. The only thing that makes me nervous is the actual fees on Bitcoin eventually. Mr. Nismo Miner, member for 2 months. Happy Taco Tuesday. You guys rock, dude. You're awesome. Appreciate you. All right. Anyways, guys, hopefully you all have a great, happy, and safe Tuesday. We're going to go raid Miss Randy Hipper. I'll be back in the morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, enjoy the rest of your day. And peace out.